Alright, everybody, here I thought I was done with the Next Fest coverage, but we got one more night we apparently did post Next Fest. So welcome to what will be the final demo showcase of Next Fest 2022. And we are beginning with Gedda Cake. This is a Metroidvania where you play as a set of dragons who love to eat, relax, and just do their daily things when their home is invaded by evil, or more evil. And it's up to them, in order to secure their cakes and cupcakes, to go out there and do some Metroidvania action. So our main mechanic here is that each dragon has a different element, as well as a different way of attacking and special moves. Enemies will correspond to elements by either doing more damage or taking less damage to the point of being immune to it if you attack them with the wrong character. The footage you're seeing is played on the game's hard mode as well. Now, I love the animation detail in this game, especially with how the dragons attack and just have like their idle stuff. From this demo, my main concern is that I felt that the game could do a better job of representing the different elements of how things work in game. And what I mean by that is having a better indicator as you're going around as to what element you're actually up against and how does that compare to the dragon you're currently using. Because again, if you attack the enemy with a complete counter, they're the complete counter, you do 0 damage. Also, there's a very noticeable delay in how characters attack, as you saw right there. That when you press the button, it takes about a quarter to maybe like a half a second from the button press before the actual attack goes through. This means that the enemy is too close or is moving around, they're going to get a free hit. And that does get a bit annoying. Also, there could definitely be more checkpoints. The various dragon beds act as your various save points. You can recover your cupcakes, which are your quote-unquote Estus. But I was really hoping for more, and I hope in the main game that there is going to be some form of fast travel, because there is a lot of ground you have to cover and recover, as of course you get more upgrades, new dragons, etc. But I would say this looks like it's going to be a very decent Metroidvania, and one to keep an eye out for if you're a fan of the genre. We now turn to Slayer X Terminal Aftermath Vengeance of the Slayer. Quite possibly the most 90s FPS to ever 90s. This game is basically trying to, or is emulating, the 94, 95 kind of like early 3D era of FPS. It's kind of like 3DO, I would say. And the game certainly hits that mark with all the 90s rock you can listen to, your protagonist cursing and swearing. And the level design definitely has some very interesting aspects to it. The levels are on the wider side, with multiple things to find, secrets, that kind of good stuff. You get hack blood, which is apparently used for like special powers or moves, I believe, but that was not featured in this demo. So for this game, this is definitely aimed at a very specific fan of modern retro shooters. If you are not a fan of the older style, then this one is definitely not going to be for you. But it's one of those kind of like, it's so bad it's good kind of games. I would say that if you're a fan of something like Cruelty Squad, for being very explicit in its design and its appeal, then this one should also work for you. And I'm definitely curious to see where they're going to go with the different weapon designs, and also what else or what other 90s things they're going to cram into it. And now for something very different, this is the Many Pieces of Mr. Coup. This is a adventure game using hand-drawn animation. Really reminds me of like 90s animation, Nickelodeon kind of thing. But this is a game that's all about Mr. Coup here, who is just, well, trying to live his life, and he gets into strange and adventure style situations. So the game itself is structured very similar to that of like an Amanita game, like Machinarium and that kind of thing, where you go through a series of vignettes, and your job is to solve whatever it is that's in your way. Be it trying to get to a gift, open a door, deal with some guy standing in your way, that kind of thing. Now, right from the very beginning, I absolutely love the aesthetic and the art of this game. And I will probably play this game just on those 2 points alone. Now, my main concern is definitely going to be the length. Usually when you have games that have such a beautiful and striking aesthetic, it also means spending a lot more time making sure all that works. So I don't know where they're going to go in terms of the length, as well as the difficulty. This is a game that's dealing with a lot of surrealism, which means that you're going to have to deal with the logic or illogical sense of the world in order to solve these puzzles, which is good for someone like me. But I don't know, again, like how hard this game is actually going to be. But if you're an adventure game fan and if you love games with very unique animation and expressive art, definitely check this one out. But with that said, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have 3 more games to look at for the showcase. And if you're interested in my thoughts on design, then check out my game design books. For entry-level students, we have 20 essential games to study, and then the Game Design Deep Dive series that takes an extensive look at different genres, with free-to-play coming in 2022. We now have a platformer with Psilosybil. And this is a, modern retro take specifically on PlayStation 1 platforming. And a certain Bandicoot is the inspiration for this one. Now, the main thing about Psilosybil is that this is clearly aimed at going beyond in terms of the difficulty of Crash Bandicoot. So right off the bat, if you found that style of platforming to be too difficult or too frustrating, this is definitely going to be a no as a game to play. Now, with nailing the aesthetic and the design, the developer certainly has that one. My main issue with this game is the jump physics, or specifically how the character reacts to the different things as they're jumping and moving. I had cases where it felt like I was going to make a jump, but couldn't, and cases where I shouldn't have made the jump, but I was still able to do it. And I know that doesn't make too much sense as I describe it like that, but it feels like a case where you have the precision required by the jumping to be so tight that it becomes a frustration. And if you are not a fan, again, of the Crash Bandicoot style of 3D platforming, this is a game you should be staying far away from. But I would definitely keep an eye out on this one, especially, again, as a fan of platformers, and seeing one that is not just trying to be another Mario-like. So again, brutally difficult platformer, and if you enjoy that, well, you guys certainly another ordeal coming your way. Now up, this is Anglerfish. And this is a kind of action-adventure game where you go to a bar one night and you are murdered. And the twist is that we are trapped in a time loop. The game will only save after we are killed. And every time you die, something will change. Some detail in some way, shape, or form is going to be altered. This includes opening up shortcuts, maybe giving you a new ability, changing the structure. Again, we don't know. So this is definitely an interesting one. I like the aesthetic of the game. It has like very interesting detail, especially with how you live or die in it. But this is one of those games that it is going to make or break based off of the twist here. Because you are looping every time you die, it also means that you are going to be repeating a lot of content. And that, if it's not handled right, could be very frustrating for people playing this one. I don't know how far they're going to go in terms of the permutations and the variants of everything here. Also, this game is definitely aiming to be somewhat on the graphic side, just as a heads up for the more squeamish people watching the video right now. Which of course I picked the perfect time to say it right there. But this one definitely intrigues me. I'm curious to see how they're going to stick the landing in terms of their unique premise. Speaking of unique premises, we have for the final game 24 Killers. A slice of life roguelike survival possible drug trip. I'm not sure where we're going to land on this, but we play as Home, an extra-dimensional creature who is trapped in a dead body by another alien named Moon. And in order to get out and escape, we need to take photographs of strange creatures and do tasks on this deserted yet not so deserted island. And yes, this game is even stranger than my description. In fact, when you start a new save, you are creating a multiverse dimension, which by winning will give you a buff that you can then take to other save files. So there is certainly going to be some replayability here for sure. Now, the big thing about this game is that, as we can probably tell, it is a weird game. And from what we played of it on stream, it is certainly intriguing, but it does feel a little janky in certain areas because of that. There was a challenge involving running through rings that just felt very annoying to do. And this is one of those titles that is kind of similar to Helix, that you are either going to be all in to go down this rabbit hole, or you're going to back away from it really fast. I am certainly interested in checking this one out more, but again, I like games that are out there in terms of their mechanics, and this one certainly is. So if you're looking for a little strangeness in your life, then definitely check out 24 Killers. But with that said, we'll wrap up what is the final, at long last, video for Next Fest of 2022. Thank you so much for watching. Check out the links to all the games down below. Do the liking, subscribing, and commenting. And come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where some of the art and science of games.